it's absolutely tipping down in wetlands at the moment, but yes, here I am again. I'm just going to give you a heads up on some of the add-ons that I use and recommend in Turtle WoW. Let's get cracking. First up is PFUI. Now, I have mentioned this before in passing. It is a complete UI replacement for the standard one, which, you know, I know is blasphemous to say, but I do not like it and never have. So there is a huge amount of customization that you can do with PFUI. I'll just go in and say hello. So if we have a look at the interface here, you know, you've got everything from settings to unit frames to, you know, how your bags. Oh, look at all the stuff I haven't sold, how that's going. You know, mini-maps, how you want your buffs to be displayed, the XP bar, the chat, which is what I'm currently on, how you want your nameplates to be displayed as well. It is a highly customizable thing. It does take a little bit of getting used to, and it's certainly not overly pretty, but it is very effective at what it does. And of course you can click unlock at the bottom here, and then you have access to the entire screen. You can move all the stuff around, like I want action bar pet over here. No worries, it's done, and you just press escape and it saved it. Well, obviously I don't have a pet, but yeah, you get the general idea. It's very nice, I do recommend it. Its cousin is PFQuest. Now PFQuest is a quest helper, obviously, but it also has an additional unit, which is PFQuest for Turtle, and that will include all of, well, most of the custom quests in Turtle WoW as well, which is kind of handy because, for example, this quest here is not actually in Vanilla WoW. It is, in fact, a custom quest, but it will be covered by PFQuest. So we'll go into PFQuest config. Okay, so we brought this up. Now you have the option to use a quest tracker here if you want. I personally don't use this. But there are a lot of different options as well. It'll give you all the available quest givers all over the map, including the custom areas as well, which we'll go into in a sec. You know, you've got other options here for nodes to show up on the map and the mini-map, and it'll even show a route between objects for your quests. And I picked up a few quests here in Wetlands, for example. So if I choose the route here, close this out and go to my map, as you can see, the new area, Hawk's Vigil and Dunograth, which has been added in Turtle WoW, is down here, and it's got all of these things here. But not only that, but it's also showing me that from my current location, the quickest way to complete all these quests is to do it that way. So isn't that neat? I personally don't go for that. It's not my sort of thing, but you know, I take the routes off and I just leave the bags instead. So if you turn the routes off, as you can see, you've just got the bags now. So that's just telling you where your current quest objectives are, and you can choose whatever route you like. I personally prefer that, but you know, everybody is different. The other thing which is I find particularly useful is that all the nodes, all the herbs, all the ores, all the chests inside the game are also stored in PFQuest as well. So for example, if you go DB herbs and enter, now all of the herbs are listed on the map, and they're different color coded as well. So Wild Steel Bloom over there, Bruiseweed over there, etc, etc. You get the general idea, but it works for all the maps. It's updated to Turtle WoW, and it hasn't got me wrong yet. So yeah, if you're interested in the gathering side of things, then that's definitely one to go for. A couple of honorable mentions here for Questy. Now Questy will definitely work in Turtle WoW, but of course it will be missing all of the custom Turtle WoW quests, and there are quite a lot of them, so that's possibly going to be a problem. In terms of gathering, Gatherer does work as well, but it will encounter alleyway errors because additional zones have been added, and so some of the land IDs are different, and as a result it's trying to find land and it doesn't exist. It gets messed up. So yes, and if you want to do it, you can totally do Gatherer. It does work. You just might want to turn alleyway errors off because some places like Westfall, for example, it just goes manic with errors. Okay, so far so good. Moving on to the next one, Atlas Loot Enhanced Turtle WoW Edition. Now, people who have played Vanilla before will be pretty aware of Atlas Loot. It's basically, you know, you choose your dungeon or your world boss or whatever, and then you choose your sub-table, which is usually a boss, and you can find out what drops, and you know, that is relatively useful. But of course, Turtle WoW being Turtle WoW, it has added a number of additional items to the loot tables, including in Dead Mines. For example, if we go to Van Cleef at the end, these Spike to Fire Spaulders, they're something I've always wanted on my Prot Warriors. Never managed to get it. It's got a 5% drop chance, but yes, it is very, very nice for the level. And that's been added by Turtle WoW. So, you know, that's an example of additional loot that's been added to the table. In terms of the versions, I would go for the Lexi Bean version. Lexi actually plays in-game as well and updates it regularly, so I would go with that Turtle WoW edition, but it's entirely up to you. There are a couple of other editions knocking around. Back home and dry in Dionysus. Lovely. Okay, now when it comes to mail, on the original client, it unfortunately does not send more than one attached item per message. And if you want to send multiple items, that can be a bit of a pain. So add-ons have been developed for this, and mail is called Mail. It's very nice indeed. If you click on Open Mail, this will just automatically open everything that's in your inbox, which saves you a lot of time clicking on individual messages, particularly when you've made a lot of sales or you've generated a lot of hate mail. Now, in terms of sending mail, you can now send up to 21 items in one message, which is much, much better. So I'll just rack them up by right-clicking them here, and as you can see, it's all filling up very nicely. Obviously, I'm not going to send this message because if there is a player on this server called Ballsack, they're about to get a whole bunch of useless stuff they don't really need. And you can send the money as well, as usual. So that is a much, much better way of doing things, so I do recommend using at least one mail add-on. I use Mail. You can use Postal as well. It can be a little more difficult to install because I think there's an additional folder inside a folder there, so it doesn't always show up if you can't work out how it's put together, but it works just as well, so you can absolutely use it. This is what your character sheet looks like if you don't have the next add-on, and you know it's fine. You know, it's like melee attack power and that's all your detail that you get. That doesn't really do it for me, so I have installed better character stats instead. Now this will give you an overview of, you know, your defensive, armor, defense, dodge, parry and block, but it'll also give you like your melee stats, you know, what speed your weapon's swinging at, your hit and crit, and you know, if you have ranged abilities as well, it'll also give you those details as well as spells. So if you want a little bit more detail on your character, especially, you know, when you're trying to reach hit caps and stuff at endgame, then this is a very, very useful, tiny little add-on that you might well want to use. Now, while I'm in the city, I might as well check my auctions and see how they're all going on. As you can tell from the bag, they didn't go terribly well, did they? So we'll open this up and we will get Auks, and this is the add-on that I use in order to do all of my auction stuff. Now, I know it's not really much of a favourite, basically because it's not a very pretty, but it does actually get the job done very nicely. I just go to post here. I find something that I want to sell, say bronze tube. That's rather popular sometimes. Now this is the base value that it usually sells for, and at the moment it's probably a good idea to start selling these. Just slightly undercut them and post, and that's all there is to it. It does make you an awful lot of money. It certainly has made me an awful lot of money, and you know, there are other things that might not sell as well. As you can see, the earthen shoulder's not so good, but you just sort of click on the ones that you want to sell and away you go. For anyone asking about Auctioneer, yes, it is here. It is a little finicky. I think it requires a couple of additional like backup libraries like Stubby and Lib. So you might want to install those as well, but it definitely works. It's just I can't stand, you know, standing here for the best part of 2 hours where it scans all 400 pages of the auction house. That's just not my kind of thing. So for the next one, I needed a little bit of threat, and I think I got my wish. This is called KLH. It actually says KTM down in the bottom left there, but this is a threat meter. Threat meters are usually used by tanks, and of course used by all responsible DPS to make sure they aren't pulling off the tank. Oh, I'm going to get some comments about that. Anyway, so yes, it's just a standard issue threat meter. I use it sometimes to diagnose if I'm having threat issues, and it's also nice just to give you a heads up when you are losing control of the situation, everything is going to pieces. But, you know, as you can see, it just gives you a threat readout and make sure that you are very much in charge of the situation. You wouldn't use it in something like this, you'd use it in dungeons or raids, and there are a lot of other options as well. As you can see, there's general, self, raid options, so yes, if you need a threat meter, I would recommend this one at the moment. I haven't had any issues with it. There is an honourable mention to go out for the TW threat meter, which is the Turtle WoW one as well. It's fine, it does the job, and just... this one feels like it's just better rounded in general. The last thing I would like to mention is vanilla fixes. Now, if you aren't comfortable with using the byte patcher for your auto loot, vanilla fixes is another one of those add-ons which will enable you to do this. A lot of people ask for auto loot, so I thought I would give you an additional option, and that option is vanilla fixes. It also apparently helps to decrease, you know, the amount of stutter and animation lag that can sometimes happen in vanilla WoW. But I will put with a caveat that there have been reports that some animations are just completely balked after you install it. So I do recommend that if you are going to go down this route, that you copy the entirety of your Turtle WoW folder into a backup area, just in case, it has a few adverse effects that you really weren't enjoying. In terms of viruses, no, it's not a virus, it's not going to break your machine, it's not going to turn you into putty, it's just an executable which is going to adjust a few little files here and there to make things a little smoother. So that's all I have for add-ons at the moment. I am still testing out a couple of the macro add-ons. I'm currently giving Roid macros a go, so I'll let you know how I go with that. But at the moment, I would stick with Clever Macro and, give Roid macros. It's getting a lot of attention, so I wanted to take a look at it, but I can't recommend it just as yet. If you do have any other add-ons that I have missed and overlooked, which is very, very likely, then by all means give me a shout in the comments and I will look into them, and if they turn out to be awesome balls, then I will put them on another video. I'm all for helping out the Turtle WoW community as we go through, hitting 4K population now, it's crazy. Anyway, I will be back relatively soon, but until then, I am the Conspicuous Moo, and a very, very good afternoon to you.